that feeling that I knew that how I would feel
Yeah.
when I win, when I get there, when I get exonerated, when I get into law school, when I do the thing that people told me I can't do, that's supposed to be impossible, how I will feel is what has dragged me through to these hardest accomplishments for me.
What happens when your worst fear becomes your reality? Hi, I'm Brent Cassity. Welcome to the Nightmare Success In and Out podcast, where we explore how to overcome your fears and nightmares and set yourself free. We're going to be exploring this topic with guys I was in Leavenworth with and others who survived their own nightmare. These stories can be inspiring, sometimes sad. There's some humor, but hopefully you can come away with a nugget of something that'll help you knock down some of the prisons you built up in your own mind. All right, welcome back, Nightmare Success In and Out listeners. This is where you come for what happens when your worst fear becomes your reality. How do you adapt, survive, overcome, set yourself free? Folks, don't forget to follow, subscribe, share this thing out, like it up. It really helps the show, and I appreciate it. So who are we talking to today on Nightmare Success? Well, I've got to tell you, I'm talking to Dieter Tejada, and I knew of him because we're part of the white collar support group, but he had posted, it was either on Facebook or LinkedIn, and it was a story that had been written, UConn magazine, which he went to UConn as a student. And I started reading it. I thought, oh my God, I got to get a hold of him. This is a great story. And it's one, and I was just telling him before we got on, it's one of those stories where and I'll just jump into a little bit about what his story is about. He was at a party, 17 years old, gets into a fight, defending himself, and he gets charges against him, even though it was pretty clear that it was self-defense and they wanted to fight it. But as a lot of these cases come down to things, he was looking at, if he went to trial, a maximum of 10 years. And that seemed like an awful lot to a 17-year-old kid that had an acceptance to UConn that he was hoping to continue to keep that acceptance letter. And he went ahead and pled, and he served his time, and he went to UConn did accept him. He then went to Vanderbilt Law School. He passed the bar. And as in a lot of cases, I've had a lot of different attorneys on here that have had to go through the scrutiny of Tara Simmons and Casey Early and all these different ones. You can pass the bar, but that doesn't mean they're going to license you because of a conviction. One of the things that the bar had asked for is a copy of the police report. And I was just talking to Dieter about this. I don't know that he would have gone back, 10 years plus to look at that police report, but he had to go get it because of what he was going through being examined. And he discovered something, that there was 20 extra pages of exculpatory evidence that was being hidden from him in the first go around. So this opened up a whole thing. And, in the end, I'm going to shortcut it here because I want to jump into this story and let Dieter talk about it. But in September 2023, Dieter was given a full, complete absolute unconditional pardon. And I just love the story because he could have just stayed low, curled up in a fetal position, and never have been to where he is today. So I can't wait to jump into all this. Before we do, I want to recognize our show sponsor, Auto Plaza Direct. Who likes spending a couple of weekends walking car lots looking for a car. Then you spend 4 or 5 hours in the dealership to buy a car. It's kind of like a root canal appointment. Well, there's a better way to take away all that pain and hassle getting a car. It's called Auto Plaza Direct. They're your personal car concierge. Just tell them the car you want, what you can pay, and they'll go find that car for you. They'll negotiate your best price. They also offer warranties and financing. It's all full service. Go to autoplazadirect.com to get started with your personal car concierge, the new hassle-free way, the car buying experience you deserve. Auto Plaza Direct. Tell them Brent from Nightmare Success sent you. Folks, I want to share with you a powerful and moving new book you won't want to miss. My Name is Saffron. Voices, silenced, stifled, and taken away by author Saffron Gustafson. This isn't just a story. It's a journey through resilience, survival, and reclaiming your voice after being silenced for far too long. Saffron's story takes you inside the hidden struggles, the pain, and ultimately the triumph of refusing to be defined by circumstances. As Saffron was putting the finishing touches on her book, the prison she had just been released from, Federal Dublin FCI, was permanently closed because of sexual abuse of the women prisoners. If you've ever wondered what it takes to rise from the darkness of places, to find your truth, and to speak it boldly, this book will inspire you. Pick up your copy of My Name is Saffron today, available now on Amazon or wherever books are sold. Trust me, you'll be moved, challenged, and changed by her story. Dieter, how you doing, my man?
Good. Good. How are you?
Good. Glad we were able to connect. This is and we just found out, because I always tell people before we get started, there's a few buttons I have to push to get this thing all rolling. And I told Dieter, I said, I'm left-handed, so anything can happen. And he said, yeah, I'm left-handed too. I said, but I've got a left-handed wife, so we're both left-handed. And Dieter said, yeah, me too. And I said, I'm not even sure if you're supposed to do that. I'm not sure two left-handed people are supposed to marry, but I guess Julie and I have been 35 years now, so maybe it is okay to marry after
Yeah.
35 years, two
Stay within your
lefties.
side. Stay within your side. Left to
It
right.
works really well though when you're in a booth, you know, uh, at a baseball game or a sporting event, because you don't knock into the other person's elbow. So that kind of thing works out pretty well. All right, Dieter, let's talk about this. What I didn't talk, take us back before the 17-year-old. What was life like for Dieter growing up? Where did you grow up? And before that night happened, what all was going on in your life?
So I grew up in Norwalk, Connecticut. And for those that aren't familiar, it's in Fairfield County, somewhat of like a commuter town. Some people work in New York, some don't. School I went to was 33% Spanish, 33% Black, 33% white, middle class mainly. Um, and my parents were both teachers. My dad's Dominican immigrant, and my mom's white. That's why you get Dieter Tejada. But it was, pretty standard. I was a pretty good student, much better test taker than student for most of my time. But I was a class clown, a dorky little kid. Had friends. Very average middle class existence until
Yeah.
17. Yeah.
Siblings? Did you have siblings, Dieter?
I have one younger brother.
Okay, so there was two brothers in this whole scenario of the family. Okay. So I I've had some people on where things have happened as a teenager, and I always think it's um fascinating how, you can have laws where people can't, they can't vote or they can't drink or they can't do this, can't drive. But in a lot of different cases, especially in state cases, they will immediately turn somebody into an adult to go through an adult world and put people in adult prisons. But when you were, before this night happened, uh, it would have been your senior year. Is that right, Dieter?
Yeah, it was my
Yeah.
senior year. Um,
So So for you, everything's kind of going along as it should. You got your acceptance letter. You kind of know where you're going to college. Senior year is what it is, and you're at this party.
yeah.
So did anything seem like anything was going to happen that night?
No, no, it didn't. Seemed like regular high school weekend night. We're hanging out, drinking at a friend's house, and I get a call on my phone. I knew something was up right away because it was a call from this girl. We had gotten into an argument the night before,
Okay.
and it wasn't. It didn't end well. I had driven her to a party. I didn't drive her home, and I knew that we probably weren't going to talk.
Was this just a Dieter move?
No, I was shocked. I was shocked that that thing. I wanted things to go well. They did not
Okay.
go, but then I get this call, and this kid starts, immediately. This guy, he had like a New York accent, which
Yeah.
I thought was strange because I knew he wasn't from New York, and it wasn't.
And you didn't know him.
No, I didn't know. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I didn't know who he was at all.
Okay. Got
But
it.
he starts threatening me immediately, and I just I'll be honest, I just didn't I didn't believe him. I didn't believe him at all. So I put him on speakerphone, and I just started, like, laughing at him, and so many, many people heard this,
Mhm.
which is, like, funny too because once the case happened, it's like there were so many witnesses,
Yeah.
so many people that heard it. I mean, and now a lot of those witnesses, I have statements from. They remember him threatening.
Yeah.
And but other people can attest to this that like, yeah, your kid from what's why are you talking like a gangster from New York? Like it's
Right.
not believable. So I didn't really think anything was going to happen that night, but he was
Mhm.
serious. He was really serious. He ended up attacking me a little later on with a bat.
Okay, so wait, so was this at the party? Or
No, so
where
he
how did how did he find you?
So he didn't find me. He said at one point, this is a conversation. It's like he's like, "Where are you?" And I like an idiot. I immediately go, "Oh, I'm here." And then I'm like, "Shit!" Like um, uh, I don't want my friend. My friend probably doesn't want him coming here.
Right, right.
Um, because I was interested in meeting him mainly just to like tell him to mock it.
Mhm,
I was not a fighter, but I was somebody who was like, this guy deserves
mhm.
threatening, like he's a joke. And I thought it'd be funny. And so after telling him where I was, then realizing I don't want he can't come. I asked him where he was, and then he said he was at that girl's place. And so then I was like, oh gosh, now I got to go over there because I know like why. First of all, why is he calling me from her phone?
Mhm.
Like I wanted to make fun of him in front of her. I like my intentions were not good. They were not great. I was going to make fun of this
Yeah.
guy.
You're a teenager.
Yeah, yeah, and he's threatening me, and it was like,
Right,
stupid and whatever. I wasn't a
right,
perfect kid. I wasn't like,
right. Your
wasn't
manhood
I
is on
wasn't
the
floating
line.
in church.
Everybody heard it. Right, I got it.
I would suggest to anybody, like I know, like wait, that you want lessons on this. Don't do what I did, kids. If
Right.
don't go,
It could cause it could be bad. It could turn
yeah,
into bad things,
and
right?
yeah, things can go really sideways,
Yeah.
and the outcome too won't necessarily know the full outcome until sometimes days, years later. In my
Yeah.
case. So I ended up going over there. At first, I was going to go over by myself, but he had threatened me so much. Come, my friends were like, "Nah, let's come along." I was like, "All right, maybe they'll come along." And so I had three girls, three guys accompany me in a car over there. We get over there. I get out of the car alone, and four kids come out with bats, and I started getting worried.
Yeah.
I'm unarmed, and I'm not a big guy. At that time, I was like 5'8". I grew a lot enough in college and like 120 pounds at max.
Uh-huh.
And this guy was a pretty big guy. And
And you've never seen him before. Until tonight, this guy was not somebody in Dieter's world. You
no, I had no idea. No idea.
okay.
And I
But
didn't
these
know.
guys walk out with 4 bats.
Yeah. Yeah. And he
That would
comes
be a
down.
bad thing.
Yeah. I was pretty worried. Luckily, two of my friends jump out of the car and join me out there. He puts the bat up against my head immediately. So basically, I'm at the bottom of a hill at the in the driveway.
Mhm.
He comes down with the other guys, and he just starts saying, "Which one of you is Tejada?" My other friends are both. We're all Spanish, but they're more Spanish looking than I
Uh-huh.
am. So he's like thinking it's one of them. I'm like, "It's me," and then he's like, puts the bat up against my head, and then I started getting really worried. Push the bat down. I say, "Can we talk?" This was not going to my plan at all.
Right.
Um, and he wasn't interested in talking, so he just hit me in the stomach. And my long story short, after he hits me, I get the air knocked out of me. Uh, he turns around to start laughing to one of his friends. One of my buddies runs over and hits him. And we think pandemonium's about to break out. We're all there. We're outnumbered, outarmed. And clearly, guy's willing to be violent.
Mhm.
But luckily, my friend stepped in. If he hadn't done that, I don't know what would happen to me, because he was going to turn back around and start hitting
Hmm.
me. And I know this because he did hit me more. Because I remember. So it's crazy. Some of these things, like, they stick in your head. Like, I don't even have to close my eyes. I'm back
Hmm.
there.
I'm sure some things are vivid and some things are a blur
Some things are vivid.
because of the adrenaline rush.
Yeah, exactly. And adrenaline rush. And I had never been in a fight. So
Hmm.
I was just like, whoa, whoa, what? I just remember, because it felt like I had a moment to, like, think of, like, whoa, what do I do?
Yeah.
I got to do something.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, you don't usually practice for fights with bats and that kind of
yeah, he's getting
warfare.
back up. I see him getting back up, and he's like leaning on the bat. I run over and I hit him, punch him, and he falls back down. Luckily, what I didn't realize is that I wasn't as disadvantaged as I thought. He was bigger than me. He was way more violent than me, but he was also way more intoxicated than.
Mm.
I found out later on, many years later on, that he had a cocktail of drugs in his system that not only incapacitated him to some extent, but probably definitely helped cause him to be more violent. He's somebody who has like a conduct disorder. Essentially, he was a psychopath, but
Hmm.
they don't like to uh diagnose. They don't like to call kids psychopaths,
Hmm.
but he was that. And So those drugs, though, essentially made it. That's probably why my punch shouldn't have knocked him down. It did.
Right.
Uh, but yeah. After that, he swings a bat at me, hits me in the legs. Um, I get tired of that. I reach down, wrestle with him for the bat, pull it away. I hit him in the legs, get and walk away, throw the bat on the ground. He pops up immediately, picks the bat back up, starts saying, "Hey, yeah, you want to fight?" And I'm like, "No, no, no, you lost. It's over,
Hmm.
whatever." And that was the end of my thing. I ended up
That was
going
it.
straight. Yeah, yeah, and I like, to me, that's pretty clear cut self defense.
Yeah.
You know, I'm threatened with deadly force. I respond. Uh,
And you walk away.
yeah, and I walk away. He continues to want to engage with me. I refuse to do so.
And
Um,
Dieter, I know you said this, but so there's six people that you were with, three girls and three boys, right?
mhm.
And then on his side with the bat people, there were four people that had
There were
bats.
there were the four, including himself. One of them was like a younger kid. He got sent back to
I was
school.
just trying to get a feel for how many witnesses were at that moment
Yeah,
when all that happened. Okay.
yeah. And then there was more. Like, so another car comes after that. After
Okay.
that, another car comes. They had been at the party I was at. I hadn't
They were
called.
interested to see what was going on.
Yeah, they had called, like, they had talked to, like, one of the guys that had come over with me.
Mhm.
And they came over to the house afterwards. Uh,
Okay.
but they didn't witness the beginning of it.
Okay. So that all happens. What else? What happens after this?
So, um, after this, we go home. We're like, yeah, hey, that was great.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
over.
like, we got, guy calls, threatens, friends. He's attacks then, in a situation where we probably shouldn't have been okay. We're okay.
Yeah, you guys were
Um,
lucky.
yeah, he went back inside. We thought everything was fine. We thought everything was good. We were like, yeah, like, uh, probably deserved. Probably shouldn't threaten people and attack them.
Right.
And thought nothing else of it. And then, get a call uh, a couple days later from the girl uh, that had sort of been at the center of it initially. Um, and she's like crying. She's like, I don't know what to do. Like, the uh he went to the hospital and the police or whatever. Now, like, to be frank with you, him going to hospital, it's a little bit unclear to me exactly what why he went to the hospital.
Yeah, because you
So
all were
he
there in the
was
same.
overdosing, it seems like.
Yeah.
He had to be given antipsychotics
Mhm.
when he got to the hospital.
Right.
And as far as I understand from talking to with people in the medical profession, the only reason you would give somebody antipsychotics is if they are acting out of control,
Mhm.
uh, uh, aggressively,
Mhm.
which does sound like the guy that I met.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I guess
So what did you say to the girl who was saying
I
this
was like,
about
"Oh,"
him?
and we're like, she's like, "What do I tell them?" I was like, I don't like, what do you mean? Like, I don't." They want me to. They need somebody to blame. They need somebody to go down for this or whatever. I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, and she's like, who? Like, she's like telling me to like say like She's like, I got to give him a name. Who should I say? I'm like, nobody. What do you mean? Um, and I just said, whatever you tell, just tell him the truth.
Mhm.
And she didn't do that. So eventually I go into the police, uh, get a call from the detective. Detective wants me to come in. My parents,
Did that surprise you, Dieter, that you got a call from the police from this event? Or did
yes.
you? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess you kind of had a little bit of a foreshadowing from her call
Well,
that
from her call at that point, yeah.
something could happen, and then a couple of days later you get a call from a detective.
Yeah. I wasn't as surprised after that, but I was
Right.
surprised based on like that night.
Exactly.
But yeah,
So
police.
so when you went down to see the detective, um, because this goes into 1,100 prisons, and there's a lot of people that listen to this about when you deal with police and detectives. Um, did you have representation when you went down there?
Not at the beginning of the interview.
Okay.
Midway through, I did, but
Okay.
I know this because a cop came in and told the detective his lawyer's on the phone,
Okay.
and she didn't. She was like, "Okay," shoot him away.
Waved them off.
Yeah, yeah. So we did. We just kept on talking. I didn't. I found out that I had a lawyer for sure afterwards when my parents said they had talked to the lawyer. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, one of the lessons is first, I should not have gone in
Right.
and talked to them. And the lawyer uh should have talked to a lawyer first for sure.
Yeah.
Um and
Which is great
Yeah,
advice, Dieter.
we were
Because
ignorant. We were ignorant.
yeah.
We just thought like go and tell the truth. I told my parents what happened at
Mhm.
that point, and it's pretty clear cut. It's self
Well,
defense.
here's what I think happens, Dieter, is that so many people are not ever in that situation. So they just feel like, well, if I can just talk to them about it, tell them what happened, then I can work all this out.
Mhm.
It really doesn't work like that mostly ever, because you have no idea what their angle is. The detective is a professional and you're not. And you have to have somebody that's also a professional that can handle whatever's going on, because you have no idea what their angle is and you don't want to make any assumptions. But so many people just think, well, I'll just talk. All I got to do is talk to him. I didn't do anything. And if you've been tagged, they're taking every single word that you're saying and molding it into what they want it to be.
Yeah, yeah, and they certainly tried that with me. I mean, so I shouldn't have gone in. Now, granted, me going in didn't actually hurt me,
Right.
because the detective wasn't. She did a couple things that. One, I know that didn't hurt me because they lost my interview. They lost my
Okay.
recording. They lost everything about it. Why? Well, they lost a lot. They lost a lot of different witnesses' recordings.
Huh.
And the one thing in
Weird.
common that we seem to have in common between the recordings that were retained and the ones that weren't, is that yeah, the if it was really bad for their case, they lost it.
Mhm.
And Yeah, I remember some of the questions the detective asked. Like she said at one point, she was like, "Well, what if I told you there was a video?" Now, because at this point, I do believe that at one point early on in the case, the detectives were coming at it from a more honest angle where they really did think maybe I was at fault for
Yeah.
something.
Right.
So she said, what if there's a video, like a recording that would happen at the on the house?
Hmm.
And I was like, I
Hope there
believed her.
is.
Like, oh, great. That would be great. I'll just show you what I'm telling you.
Hmm.
Awesome. And I remember she was not happy with that.
No, she didn't want that answer.
No, that wasn't a good answer. But you know, they got more aggressive later on. As the truth came out, they got more aggressive. You know,
Hmm.
I have like, I was actually looking over, I'm still dealing with stuff from my case, but, I was looking over one of the statements of one of the witnesses, um, earlier. And this is, so we were almost all minors, everybody that they
Hmm.
questioned. And, one of the witnesses, she was a 16-year-old girl at the time, and she went in and she told the truth. She said, she said that I was attacked. She had seen the whole thing. Um, and, they did not like her statement, not one bit. Uh, do you mind if I read you a part of what she
Sure.
describes?
Sure.
Okay. So she says, during my interview, I told the truth. Nick Schwartz started the fight by attacking Dieter Tejada with a baseball bat, and Dieter acted in self-defense. The interview was held in the detective's office. Two officers were involved, the female officer, detective and a male officer who came in toward the end. From the start, the detective was pressuring me to change my story. Kept saying things like, so in other words, Dieter wanted to go to this house to fight. I answered, no, that's not what I said. I even told her directly, you keep trying to get me to lie. I'm not going to lie. I've told you this 5 times already.
Mm.
When the male officer entered, he joined in threatening me. They were extremely rude, unprofessional for a young teenage girl, blah, blah. Yeah, so they went on to, the male officer told me, you're going to go down for this.
Mm.
You're going to get in so much trouble. All these people you're with are bad people. You're never going to amount to anything. You might as well kiss your future goodbye. And then
Wow.
they end up writing up a statement for her. The detective did this for everyone. She did it for me too. I remember reading over her statement. At that point, I was a dumb kid, but I wasn't that dumb. I was like reading it. I was like, that's not even what I said.
Hmm.
I'm not signing this. But in this girl's case, her statement was more or less, I guess, what she did end up signing it. They ended up, it's one of the many pieces of evidence that was never turned over.
Hmm.
I found out only a little while ago that this statement existed. Um, but they threatened to put her in jail if she signed it, unless she changed it. And then
Wow.
they ended up, calling her. So about a year later, this is again from her statement now. It's about a year later, Detective Ruggiero called me directly. She began in a fake cheerful tone. She said, "Hi, how are you?" When I asked who it was, she said, "Oh, this is Detective Ruggiero. Do you remember me?" Then in the same insincere, sing-song manner, she told me, "I'm just calling to let you know. You need to come into the PD so that we can arrest you." So they ended up arresting and falsely charging her too.
For what? A false witness statement?
For like tampering or something.
Wow.
Yeah, it was complete nonsense. Luckily, she
So
didn't have to go to jail or anything, but
that's
it was crazy.
yeah, that's eye opening though. I mean, that's some heavy stuff when people at that age, a teenager is being threatened, you're going to go down, you're going to get in trouble, you're going to get arrested. Um, Dieter, what was the next thing that happened with this? You went in, you talked, they've interviewed witnesses. How long did this whole process last for you?
About a year and a half.
A year and a
So
half?
yeah, and right afterwards, we went in and met with my lawyer, and he said this is the truest thing that he said during his representation. I went in, I was like going to explain to him what happened and all that stuff. And he said, he told my parents, he's like, who do you know? Who do you know?
Mm.
Because that's how this guy operates. He was talking about the prosecutor.
Mhm.
Now, that prosecutor is not unique. That is exactly how that prosecutor operated.
Mhm.
and how the police operated in this case. And unfortunately, we did not know the right people. We did
Right.
not know. It's like I've done a lot of one of the things I think we're to do is I've done some stuff about like justice reform and also things on like wrongful conviction. And I've worked with a lot of different college students and stuff over the years. And one thing I think I need to put together is like a flow chart of like, are you safe? Are you safe? Will you be wrongfully convicted?
Mm.
And at the beginning too, it's like, okay, who do you know? Who do you know? Do you know anyone important? Are your parents lawyers? This kid, the kid who attacked me, his parents were lawyers. So it didn't
Okay.
matter that he was a psychopath who attacked me unprompted with a weapon. That was irrelevant.
That was
What was
fine.
relevant was that his parents were both lawyers and that they had connections and they could potentially help these people advance in their careers.
Right. All
So you are
networking.
not you like if you think if you think that like just because you're acting within the law that you're safe, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Right.
That's very naive.
So your attorney says, "Who do you know?" You guys don't know anybody. What other advice did he have? Because I'm assuming at this time, you and your parents are thinking we're going to go to trial because that
Uh
kid's innocent. I'm innocent. What was your
no,
thoughts?
no. We still thought for a while that there was gonna, they might come more evidence was coming out. And it kept on getting worse for the state's case.
Hmm.
So we were thinking maybe they're gonna like
Drop the
realize
charges.
we're still so naive that we think like maybe they're just it's a misunderstanding, and then more witnesses are coming forward, and it's like they're realizing that this isn't because at first they're thinking that like I attacked this kid unprompted, I beat him with a bat, and all this other stuff, and eventually that's very clear that that's not what happened. But they didn't care. They changed the theory again and again. Eventually, it became, well, if you hadn't gone there, none of this would happen. And it's
Right.
like that's not a charge.
No.
Like if I hadn't, you can't. It has that extenuation. It's not close enough. It's not causation there. Yeah, if I hadn't gone there and been attacked, sure.
Right.
Like, yeah, like it's just not how this works. But we thought that there was, if you bring enough truth out, that then eventually they'll
Drop the charges.
drop the charges.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. I got
No.
charged as an
No.
adult. We all did, and it actually shortly after I got out of prison, they changed that law. It was essentially a law that allowed the prosecutor to have the discretion to charge a minor as an adult in the
Mhm.
case of an assault like this, which was a charge against me. And they got it couldn't happen. It was funny. A lot of things like that have happened in my life where it's like, really, right after I get out, that can't happen anymore. Okay,
Yeah.
I just missed the boat.
Right.
Um,
Just by a little bit.
yeah, but yeah, eventually,
There's a law that was in California. I had a Jason Holland on the show, and um, there were 4 kids involved in this fight, high school kids. They charged all of those kids for the same. The kid was stabbed with a Swiss Army knife, and it just happened to hit him at the right spot, and he bled out. And they charged them all with murder.
felony murder.
Now that law has also changed, but all those 4 kids went to prison for murder, even though there was one person that did it. But anyway, that's another show. But so Dieter, at what point? Because going through all this is stressful. Going through all this at your age, being 17, senior in high school, wondering about the next road show of your life. Uh, what are you thinking?
I thought my life was over at first. I thought my life. I mean, literally, also like I wasn't sure I was going to survive prison.
Yeah.
I wasn't the culture I was raised like nobody I knew had been to prison
Yeah.
at that time, and it was yeah, it was supposed to be a very scary place. Uh and yeah, I thought my life was over. Or eventually the writing on the wall became clear that the prosecutor was going to make sure that this, you know, he had to do what we had to make the other party happy, his parents. And so, um, yeah, eventually also, the lawyers that were representing me were not interested in trial. They weren't really interested in the case
Mhm.
at
Didn't really
all.
wanna do a lot of work with it. I
No.
was curious, how did they break it down for you, Dieter, on I mean, did they break it down for you? Here's the here's your options. If we go this way, there's a good chance that we could do this because we got this, this, and this, but you could get a maximum of 10 years. You know, if you decide to plead out, then this, and this, and you could serve as much as a year, and you're going to have this on your record for the rest of your life. I mean, was was there a talk like that that happened for you and your family, or where
There
were
was,
you with your
there was. It wasn't as, I'm going to law school now, so
right?
I know the law pretty well.
You're an attorney.
So, and I also been through this experience now, and I would say that the talk that happened, it was very leading.
Mhm.
Also, like, it was very clear
You
that
knew which way he wanted you to
yes,
go.
there was only
Yeah,
one right answer.
yeah.
Um, and despite that, still really wanted to go to trial because it's hard to get an innocent person to plead guilty. It's really hard.
Yeah.
Some people, like, I think the majority of Americans can't fathom that it would ever happen.
Most people will say
Like,
that.
I would never. Why? I would
Why
fight it.
would I ever? Why would I ever plead guilty to something that I didn't do?
Yeah,
And
like maybe you
that's
don't
that's
know.
somebody that has never been. What I always say to people that say that is that's fine to say that. That
No,
just
no.
means that you've never been in that situation and you don't know what you're going to do.
Yeah, no, and I do know what they would do.
Yeah.
You would plead. You would plead for sure. Um, but yeah, I was almost stupid enough to not plead, even with a lawyer that didn't want to do it,
Mhm.
didn't want to
Understood.
do the case.
Yeah, guy
Uh,
didn't want to put in the time. He'd already been paid.
and the thing was too is I was going off. They had to do so. Eventually I discover all this evidence that was hidden,
Mhm.
and I will tell you this: that evidence was hidden. They were right to hide it. Absolutely right to hide it.
Mhm.
One, they did not want to go to trial. The
Mhm.
state, of course, they didn't. Why would you? When you know the guy's innocent, when you know they knew too much about the case.
Mhm.
They knew that he was a psychopath. They had that. They didn't. They had the diagnosis. We didn't have it.
Right.
They knew not to give that to us. Why would we? Because that's pretty good evidence that maybe the psychopath started it. Or
There's a
no.
good chance that
The
that could
chance
have
that the
been
guy
his
who's
night.
violent, who has a history of violence, is the
Yeah.
one who is literally like a 1% of people, like scary person, is the one who started it. Yeah, you probably don't want to have that evidence turned over. So even without that evidence, though, I was still wanting to go to trial.
Yeah. Without
Eventually.
those extra 20 pages.
Yeah, yeah. But
Well,
eventually they wear you down. It was
they
like,
wore you down, and then you feel like it's like when you're getting, you see it in the movies. You see the person being questioned for like 20 hours. If you'll just say this, then we'll let you go home. It's almost like that with they beat you down over a course of a year and a half, and you just want it over. But the one thing that you don't know at that time until you have to live the rest of your life is that you're going to walk around with the scarlet letter that you're a convicted felon. And that's the part that you think the worst part is going to prison, because I can't imagine the unknown world of having to live through that. I hope I can make it. You never even consider, oh my gosh, I'm going to live the rest of my life as a convicted felon. What is that going to be like? So, Dieter, you go ahead and you do the plea. I believe that you get a year. Um, was it a year? This is a state case, so you did a year something. And tell me what your thoughts were as a young kid walking into that. Well, no, let's don't do that. Let's take a break because I want to go into all that. Let's take a break here and we'll read a couple of our sponsors. A lot of people don't like how they show up online. Many individuals think there's no hope when it comes to managing your reputation on Google. There is hope. It's called the Discoverability Company, and they can help you. Whether you're building a reputation from scratch or repairing your search results from a negative news story, Discoverability can also help you how you're portrayed on popular AI services like ChatGPT. To learn more, visit discoverability.co. It's not .com, .co. Listeners of Nightmare Success can take $100 off with coupon code Nightmare Success. Check this out. Drew Chapin knows what he's doing with all this stuff when it comes to managing your reputation. The Nightmare Success podcast is sponsored by the White Collar Support Group, the world's first support group devoted to people navigating the white collar criminal justice system. I'm a member of the White Collar Support Group, and I can tell you this is a bunch of people who can help each other through the criminal justice journey for free. Whether you're just starting your journey or you've made it through to the other side, this is great space for you. You can join us on Zoom Mondays, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information, go to prisonist.org. That's prisonist.org. Okay, Dieter. So at this time, you're probably 18 years old. You are, I guess, voluntarily surrendering to wherever you went. What's going through your mind?
I remember, I remember it was an emotional thing decision. It was like a day. It was one of many court dates, right? So every court date for a long time after the initial court date was just a continuation. So this one was planned to be another one of these continuations. Wait for an offer from the prosecutor, but instead I got a take it or leave it deal.
Okay.
It was like a couple days after my birthday, and I looked at the deal and I was like, well, if I get early release, I finally caved. I was like, fine, let's do it. He's like, you could do it now, you could take it now, or you could take it in a month or whatever. But I was like, well, maybe I'll get out in time to go back to school or something. And I just didn't, I didn't
You want
know.
your life back, and you had the opportunity because UConn had not pulled the offer.
No, they had it.
Yeah.
So I took the deal, and they brought me into the court, and essentially it was when you accept a deal like that, I wasn't sentenced at the time, but they raised bond for me. So I get pulled out of court. It's a traumatic experience. Mom's crying. You never forget images like that. And I remember it did not start well because I get pulled into the I guess the holding cells back there.
Yeah.
And I remember it's like I'm I'm like in my street clothes still, but I got little cuffs on and whatever. And this the bailiff or whatever is bringing me for it. And I hear this guy, he's like, "No, don't put him in here. Don't put him in here. Put that little white boy in here. I'm gonna F him up." I'm like, "Oh man, really? Not even a day? Not even a day. Oh man." And so, and the bailiff did not care. She didn't care, which was not making me feel better. It was making me confused. I was like, why is she not saying?
Why is no one paying attention to
Yeah,
this?
well,
Right.
clearly he's saying he's going to like kill me or something if I get put in there. And she just she mentioned, tells him, shut up, move away from the door. And I get put in there. And I remember I'm like this. And I see the guy. I'm like, holy, he's huge. I'm like, this is not going to go well, but I'm going to try and I'm not going to die without something. And then he just starts laughing, and he ended up becoming a good friend of mine for a lot of my stay inside. Ended up working out with him a lot, wherever. And so prison was it's a very bad place. It's worse than most, at least the state. I was in a state in state prisons, and they were not clean. They were not clean at all.
Yeah.
They were not very humane. Of course there were people, prisoners, some of them, you have issues and things, to be honest with you though, the worst stuff was some of the guards. Some of the guards were fine, absolutely fine. All the people.
Yeah, that's what I always say, Dieter, is that there were some really bad COs at Leavenworth, but then there were, some that weren't. You
You
know,
know?
we had a good counselor and a bad counselor. There was Goodwin and Swanson was the devil, and Goodwin was good. And it's really strange. Like I had like a visiting cop when my family come visit, and we had this one guy Hudson that made my family so comfortable and made them feel not so nervous and was so nice. And we had this other one that turned them away 3 times after driving there for 4.5 hours. That's I mean, polar opposites that you live with in prison is, yeah, they're not all bad. It's when the ones that are bad, it really feels bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know one of the things that was in the article that caught my attention was the first time you brought it up to somebody that you wanted to be an attorney was to somebody that worked in prison that I think it was a prison counselor, and he laughed at you.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember he laughed at me. He laughed at me a couple of times. He laughed also because I want to apply for early release. And he laughed and he said, part of the reason why he laughed, he was right to laugh on that one, maybe, because like my charge was actually in the system wrong. It was showing that I was convicted of assault on an elderly.
Mhm.
And I wasn't. So
Right,
that was a whole
right.
nother thing my parents had to
That
go.
didn't happen. Right.
Yeah. But he laughed at me over the lawyer thing. And I would say it hurt, but I was already at a point where I decided that like I am not going to let the world define me. I mean, if we're getting into like what did I learn from this, like what was the good that came out of this experience, was that I was a kid when I went in. I was a kid who was very didn't have the best self-esteem. I was very concerned with what others thought about me. And the freeing part of this was that I'm on the inside now, and especially after sentencing, it's like, why would I care what people think about me? They literally, I'm being persecuted. I'm being thrown away over
Yeah.
something that like I know, because you don't know. Sometimes it's like, well, maybe people have a reason not to like me or whatever. But in this
Mhm.
case, it's like, I know you're wrong. I
Mhm.
didn't even do this thing.
Right.
And so, the freeing thing was like, well, and it was like, I don't know, will I ever win them back over? I was like, I don't care. I don't care. I can't care about that. I like who like what I found that I cared about was what I need to care about is who do I respect myself?
Mm.
And I decided that I wanted to do certain things in my life and that I wouldn't respect myself unless I tried.
I love that.
So
And that's the whole thing is that action step of trying.
yeah,
The thing, Dieter, too, is that a lot of people, when they're released from prison, they're released back into the community. Reentry is tough, and being around people. You got released and you went to college, and
ankle bracelet at first
that's
though.
what I was going to say. You went to college with an ankle bracelet on, not caring what people think. Did that continue on?
Well, to one extent or another, now I've realized you got to care a little bit what people think, or you should. I care what people think only in so much as like, what will they allow me to do? If you're not going to let me do something because you think I'm a bad person, then I'd rather try and make you think I'm not that.
Right, right. I got it. Yeah.
But so yeah,
Well, what was that? I guess the better question, Dieter, what was it like getting back into a college environment? All of a sudden this is a community of people that are a certain age doing certain things. Um, and you just got released from prison. Do people know about it? Do you talk about it? How does this hang in your life?
so originally I go back to UConn stores. Um, and I wanted my life just to go right back to how it was. And
Mhm.
that lasted about a week and a half because uh, I was on parole at first. And then actually, by the time I went back to school, I had to take a semester off because I didn't get out in time to go back to school. And then, but when I'm back, now I have a probation officer. And the probation officer up there, I had my ankle bracelet on and 16 months out, electronic monitoring after my sentence. And the way it was going to work was I was going to have to go to class. I could go to class, but then I had to leave the house to go to class. And then I had to be back within like 15 minutes, and I lived like 14 minutes from
Oh
campus.
God.
And it was it was very apparent that this was not going to work out. This lady I was going to go back to jail because she was going to violate me. You know, if you get any, they can, when you're on
Oh yeah,
probation,
they're
you're
looking
basically at
for
their mercy.
if you got a probation officer that's looking for a reason, any reason works.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I ended up transferring to UConn Stanford, which is a com- commuter, smaller, like a branch of the main campus.
Mhm.
And I didn't tell people about, I wore pants so they couldn't see my ankle bracelet.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell people for a while. I remember I finally, one day I told, I'd have to get close to somebody before I told them.
Mhm.
And then one day I had an art class. It was like art, I don't know, like art history or something. For whatever reason, there was like a final project that was, tell us something about your life. And I don't know. I don't remember if I had to do a PowerPoint presentation or something. But all I remember is I went in and I was like, I'm just going to tell them about what happened with me. Uh, and I told them about it. I told them like what I wanted to do afterwards, and I just told them about the whole experience.
Mhm.
And it was a very freeing. It was a good experience. It was really it was good to do that. I felt a lot better.
Isn't that interesting, Dieter, how that works? Because to me, I know I wrote a book and that was cathartic, but uh, it does take a lot of weight off of you of the pressure of do they know, do they not know, do they know? You know, it's that if you lead with it, and you know, I had this happen to me, and I want to go into law, and this is why I want to do it. It kind of gives a whole nother new reason and passion for your life that people can cheer for, and maybe understand more than finding out about it and somebody gossiping or something. You know, it feels different.
Yeah, it's a shame because in law school, this was in undergrad. When I went to
Yeah.
law school, I ended up not doing that. I ended up going back to not telling anybody about it
Mhm.
because couple
Different
days,
schools. This was Vanderbilt.
yeah, at Vanderbilt, they it was a couple days after I get there, so I had to
Now,
like,
did you have any problem getting into law school because of your record?
yes, yes. So I figured out what I need to do to go to law school, and essentially it's the same thing now. You need to do well in school. Well, to go to a good law school, you need to do well in school, get good grades, and you need to take the LSAT and do well on the LSAT, law school admissions test. And so I did that. I did well in school. I was interned and stuff, and I worked all through college. And I took the LSAT, and I took it twice. First time I got 162, which is a pretty good score. But I was like, let me try it one more time. And I did it and I got a 175, which is a very good score. It's 99.5 percentile. And if you have that score, I thought, I was like, I'm going anywhere I want,
Mhm.
anywhere. And I would have, but not really because I have that conviction.
Mhm.
But I did get into Vanderbilt and they gave me
Which
a
is an
scholarship.
excellent school.
Yeah, they gave me a scholarship. And I was very happy about it. But then I was on probation still. And I
Did they bring up
realized
your
that I
conviction, Vanderbilt, at all?
did they know? Yeah. I wrote about it in my essay.
Okay, so you actually led with it there.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Okay.
didn't say I was wrongfully convicted at that time because I wasn't, you know,
You weren't there yet.
yeah. Um, and but I remember I was on probation and I would look like I wasn't gonna be able to go. I needed
Mhm.
to get my, something happened with probation where they didn't do a transfer of paperwork so that
Mhm.
I could be transferred down to Tennessee.
Mhm.
So essentially, I had only one option. I had to try and get off probation early. Now, I'd already done all my, you know, they had given me like 200 hours community service. I had done like 500 hours within like the
Mhm.
first year and a half. And I had done all my conditions. I was off the bracelet or whatever, but I still needed to apply to get off early because I had about like another 6 months. By the time school would have started, I would have had another 6 months of probation.
Mhm.
And so I went back and I filed a motion to get off probation. And on my court date, I go in and they tell me that the prosecutor wants to see you in his office before. Uh, and so I go up there and uh, I remember he didn't look up from the desk. He's like, Tejada. He's like, Tejada? It's like, I'm going to have to argue against your motion. Uh, and I was like, okay, why? And he snapped. He snapped. He was like, because we had a deal. Um, we made a deal. I was like, no, we didn't make a deal. I was 17-year-old kids here. Like, I did not. It was a deal made in bad faith. And he's like, well, what about here's the deal. Why don't I send you back to prison? And you know, I knew I would have known logically that you can't send somebody back to prison for that. What is
Mhm.
that? Nothing. Nothing. I hadn't done anything. All I'd done is filed a motion.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like the
and
girl that they it's like the girl that was the witness that they've hassled because she was just being a witness.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was scared though. So I
Yeah.
threw my hands up. I was like, what do you
Well,
want?
you have PTSD over it, Dieter. That's one of the things uh, that really happens. I mean, it's a really bad thing to go through, and you don't want to be threatened with something else.
Yeah. And he was powerful. He had proven that. He
Mhm.
had done what he had
Yeah,
done
you
to me
served
before.
prison time with him. Yeah,
Yeah.
for
So I
him.
was scared. He let me do he said he was like, I'll let you do your little argument. Um, he we came to that after he calmed down, I guess. Um, the problem is this, right? So I knew from the beginning when I wanted to go to law school and all the other stuff. I also wanted to get exonerated always,
Mhm.
but I knew I was going to have to play a little bit of a game. I was going to have to not talk about it
Mhm.
all that much until I get it done, and I was going to have to when I went in there. I know I'm wrongfully convicted. I know that he knows what he did, but
Mhm.
I can't. I'm going to pretend that like I'm just here for whatever. Problem
Mhm.
was, he could see it in my eyes. He knew that I was going to law school. He didn't like that.
Mhm.
He was
Right.
smart. He knew that like that's not necessarily a good thing that this guy goes to law
Right.
school.
This guy's
Maybe
gonna get. He's gonna know more and
maybe
more and more.
maybe he'll try and fight the case some way. Who knows?
Yeah.
I think I'll grant him that he might have been willing. He might have been able to see that because he did try his best to stop. The judge ultimately sided with me in my little argument, and I was able to go to law school. But he did do one other thing. So I get a letter to the law school 3 days later. 3 days into the classes, I get called to the dean's office. The dean pulls out this letter. He's like, "You got this letter. It's anonymous." And it was a letter just tearing me down. It was just saying, I can't believe it was just like telling Vanderbilt, I can't believe you let this kid in here. He's gonna, he's,
Oh, this is an anonymous letter, though. Nobody signed it.
yeah, nobody signed.
Okay.
There's
Right.
only a couple people that could.
Okay.
Um, and it was interesting timing because it was shortly after that case. Like, yeah. Anyways, that letter, the dean, to his credit, was just saying, "Listen, I'm just letting you know
Yeah,
that
we
this happened.
received
We're
it.
not going to do anything about it. We just want to let you know, and just in case they like, something escalates, like I don't know, somebody writes an article or something."
Mhm.
Um, but it shook me. It rocked me. That letter, it really messed me up.
Mhm.
So kudos to whoever made that letter. They got what they wanted, and it shut me up. So I didn't tell anybody
Mhm.
about what happened. Of course, people found out, but I didn't tell anybody about my story, which was not good for me. And it probably think it's something, in the years since I've shared my story a lot with not on many podcasts, but out there. But with like law schools, I
Yeah.
had done a lot of work with law schools and law students and stuff. And,
Yeah.
I feel like they get a lot out of it. But I didn't share it while I was in school.
So you get out of law school, and like every good law school student does, is they study for the bar exam. They take the bar, just as you did, and but you know that by doing this, you've just put yourself in a spin cycle with the bar because you passed the bar, but that didn't mean that they were going to license you as an attorney. So what happened?
Yeah, so it was a whole trip. I didn't know in advance, like when I was applying to law school, I didn't know about the licensing process afterwards, really.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, essentially, I went go to take the bar. So at first, I had a job down in Florida, and I find out when I'm about to apply to the Florida bar that because of my conviction, I'm probably they're not gonna. My case isn't even gonna come before them for like a year and a half, and it's not
Mhm.
likely that I'll be licensed. And so I essentially had to, now I don't have a job. Gotta rethink about what I'm gonna do.
Mhm.
Um, and so I end up taking the bar. I end up taking it in Connecticut, and it's a uniform bar, so it like applies everywhere. And I end up passing 98 something percentile, and it means I can technically 40 something states are on the UB. I would be able to practice everywhere
Mhm.
based on my score. But I had applied to New York and Connecticut at the same time.
Mhm.
Connecticut first, so I hired an attorney to help represent me. And so they were like, go forward with Connecticut first. Shortly after passing, I get a letter from them saying like, we're gonna have to have a hearing. We're not letting you through. We have to have a hearing, or we have to we need more information. And so this starts this like long process of them asking me for all types of things. My bar,
Yeah, pulling stuff. You and I talked a little bit about this, Dieter, before we ever hit the
yeah,
record button. Going back into that stuff is not really easy to do. You kind of put that stuff away, you move forward, you try to create yourself a new life and all that. But when somebody tells you, hey, you got to go back, open up that closet, get back into that box, and you got to pull it all back out, it's kind of like reliving it all. But you did it, which I'm really proud of you for that, because a lot of people would just say, this is too much. I don't know what I was thinking going down this path. I'll just have to figure something else out. But you didn't do that. And you didn't do that. And by the hassle that they made you do by looking for the stuff that they asked for, it actually opened up another opportunity for you.
yeah, yeah. So they asked for one of the things they wanted was for my conviction. I had told them about it. Uh, they wanted a police report. Um, but they needed to be certified like new. Cause I had the police report that we had back when,
Mhm.
copy that my lawyer had given me. But that wouldn't cut it. I needed one from the police department directly. And so I was pretty happy when they said that I needed that because I was like, whoa, I can go. This might be good for me.
Mhm.
And I had always been trying to like work on my case a little bit or trying to figure out a way to get exonerated. And I suspected, I knew that some stuff had been done wrong in my case.
Mhm.
I knew that they knew that I was innocent, and I knew that there was some evidence where it's like, where this doesn't exist.
Mhm.
Why? Wait, are we missing anything? And so I knew going back to the police, I was like, well, they would never have given me if I started snooping around over there on my own. They would not give me it. I suspected, and I'm pretty sure my suspicions were right. Well, I know because I tried. I asked
Mhm.
them, and they were like, no, we can't. And then I was like, well, it's not for me. It's for unfortunately, the Connecticut bar really needs this information. And yeah, they need it. Sorry. And so, um, I, after a while, at first they tell me that we can't find anything. We can't find you in our system. I was like, what? A felony charge, Westport, Connecticut. Not even that many. You guys don't
It
have it.
pops up everywhere else. You found
Yeah.
that
Like,
out.
why would it not be in your system? And I
Right.
read, and so there's another, ooh, it's not in their set. They can't find it.
Mhm.
Ooh, now I'm really feeling like this might be good, what I get. And by good, I mean like you'll see.
Mhm.
So I go, eventually they a couple weeks later called me back. I kept on bothering them. And she's like, okay, I found it somehow. And we're gonna have to redact some names, some minors in the case. But I go to, but you can come into the station and get it. So I go over there and I know like, I have a feeling that something that I'm going to get, like I might discover something big here. So I start recording to just, my right before I go in, describe what's happening and after I come out. So when I go in and get the thing, it's, I feel immediately, I feel the weight of it. I'm like, this is heavy. This is a lot heavier than the report that I had. The report I had been around 20 pages. Get back to the car, open the envelope up, and it's 40 something pages. Like, what is this? And it's not like the words are much bigger. And I start reading past where my report had ended.
Yeah.
And I start finding some things that are very interesting that I didn't know, that maybe I suspected, but I didn't know. And they had always had this. This had existed. This report was finished in May of 2008. Never turned over to us. I wasn't sentenced until 2009, late 2009. They had it. They never turned it over. And for good reason. There was stuff in there that they did not. If they're the easiest way to get a wrongful conviction. This is one of the sad things too. There's so many wrongful convictions. Yeah. More than even the highest estimates are missing a big piece of it because they don't count plea deals. They don't consider how many more are pleas.
Right.
It's way more plea deals probably because those are also the hardest ones to overturn.
Right.
And it's the easiest way to get somebody convicted. If you have a bad case, if you have somebody who's innocent, you don't want to go to trial. You probably don't have a great case if they're innocent.
Yeah, offer them a plea deal.
Yeah, get them to plea. And offer them a plea deal, and then make sure that if there's evidence in there that they're right. If I would have seen any of that evidence, I showed it to my co-defendant, none of us would have taken a deal. No deal. Absolutely no deal. Yeah. If one of these pages was shown to us before. So they made the right decision to hide that stuff. And I know that they know that because I actually had to go back one more time to get another copy of the police report. Because I had turned it into the bar and it was missing a page.
Okay.
The bar's like, we need that page. I'm like, okay, I'll go back. I go back and I ask for another copy. Now, the second copy that I get, it's redacted again. Mm-hmm. The redactions are very different this time. So in the first copy that I got, this was in 2019 of the new report. First copy, all the redactions, sure enough, she said, we got to redact the names of all of the minors. Now, she doesn't know anything about whoever redacted. I knows nothing about the case because they redacted everything. And that's all they redacted was names. The second copy, this time, the names that are redacted are specific. So it's only the names of the defendants. Of the not the defendants, non-defendants, witnesses. Yeah, that are minors. But more importantly, it's not just names. They go back and they redact. The redactions are on the new pages. It's specific substantive evidence that is now redacted.
That you already know and have seen.
Oh, yeah, I already know. But I think the person who did that did not know that I already knew and had seen. Mm-hmm. I think they thought that this person 100% knew about the case and 100% understood that evidence cannot see the light.
Cannot be seen.
So at that point, I already started doing a lot more investigating on the case. And my bar thing, it goes on hold. I'm like, you know what? I can't move forward with this. I can't move forward with getting licensed until I get exonerated because, candidness is a big part of this. And I can't go before them for a hearing until I can say that I was wrongfully convicted. I was innocent.
And being candid too is you can't show remorse about something that you were wrongly convicted for.
Right? No, you can't. That's not candid. That's a lie. And so I, start interviewing witnesses. on my own, and I, get like 8, 9 witnesses, and get a witness who recanted. One of the things is like one of the lessons in my life is that like you got to do what you if you really want to do something, you got to just do it, and
Mhm.
and you can't, and when an opportunity pops up, even if it's scary, you got to do it, and if it's a chance, you got to take it. So going forward with getting that police report was scary or whatever.
Mhm.
I had to do it. There was a point where I found out a witness. One of my friends was going to visit somebody in Florida. He happened to be a witness in the case. I was like, can I
Yeah.
come? And then I just
Yeah.
talked to the guy when I got down there. And before I even say anything, I was going to ask him, would you mind talk? He like offers. He offers to talk to me. And so then I talked to him and he got a recantation and all that stuff. Because, mo- the only evidence that they had was some people who lied. Now,
Mhm.
and I don't blame people for lying because I was shocked
They were
with,
probably
like, for
scared.
instance, that girl.
Yeah.
That's crazy that you were 6 year old, giant, like big man
Yeah.
threatening you, and
Scared to death.
you didn't crack, you didn't just tell them what they wanted to hear.
Yeah.
But so they did that to every witness, and yeah, some of them did.
So
Um,
so Jeffrey Deskovic was a guest on this show a couple of times because he was with gosh, I'm trying to think what the name of the movie was, Dieter, that was up for an Oscar with the actor. Anyway, he's been on a couple of times, but he was wrongly convicted. He's got the Deskovic Foundation that goes and helps uncover wrongly convicted cases. And you connected with Jeffrey, and he started helping you. Actually, how did you connect with Jeffrey? How did you know about Jeffrey? You said you met him in law school, I think.
yeah, I met him. I was in law school, uh, and I was doing a project for it was a class called Actual Innocence, and I did a project there. I was like, I want to work on his case.
Hmm.
So I connected with him and interviewed him at that time.
Okay.
Then reconnected with him afterwards. And I went to the ended up going, ended up getting involved in the whole, exoneree
Yeah.
world. It is a world. It's
Oh
like a
yeah.
work. It's not like, there's not that many of us. And there's like the Innocence Project Gala and stuff. And
Yeah.
when you go there, you start meeting people, and
There's
we
a lot
all
of
have.
people that I've interviewed. Well, two or three guys that I've interviewed from Michigan, because Michigan's got actually a division that works on wrongly convicted cases, and I think the last I've heard, they had overturned 38 wrongly convicted people, and some of them had served as much as 35 years. So uh, when you said there's a lot of people that are wrongly convicted, that's just Michigan.
Mhm.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so Deskovic and you team up, and you start working the facts of this case.
Hmm. And we have a strategy too. So, a lot of the things that I've gotten to, like another lesson, like that, you said some people in jail, listen,
Mhm.
sometimes the things that a lot of stuff I've got in my life is like through the networks of the people that, share the same experience. So,
Mhm.
I found out from about an exoneree, who had, got exonerated in a specific way, through the, um, pardons process in Connecticut. Essentially, it was a different type of pardon. So I'd been offered pardons many times over the years, turned it down every time. They were like, "You're a perfect candidate because you have such a great, like, turnaround story and all this stuff." And all that. Yeah, the problem is I'm not interested. I'm pardoned for what? I didn't do any. I'm not going to show remorse. I'm not going to lie. I'm not doing that.
Mhm.
But this was a pardon on innocence grounds, which essentially it's you don't the main difference is you don't show remorse.
Right.
You don't do that. You explain how you were wrongfully convicted, show the evidence or whatever, and if you can get exonerated that way. It's a different path. It's very important because especially for cases like mine, there's no way back into court for a case like mine,
Mhm.
traditionally. That was the thing that we kept on running into with different lawyers because in order to get into court to appeal your case, you have to still be, whenever you hear about most exonerations, it's like, okay, guy's in jail. Well, you have something, an injury that the court will, you have a reason to have to go into court because you have that injury. You're still in jail. I wasn't in jail. I was
Right.
out.
Right. And
There's
had been
no
out
what,
for a while. You'd
yeah.
already gone to law school and yeah.
It's that was the issue that we kept on running into, is how do I get into court to like appeal the case? So luckily we go through this process, and Jeff, the Deathsmiths Foundation at first on its own, and then I connect with Alexander Talbot, an attorney in Connecticut. There's not that many attorneys that do this work. Alex had done this and helped a lot of people, hundreds of years exonerated, and we end up winning my exoneration. It was a little bit dramatic. The prosecutor's office tried to do something near the end, but luckily didn't work.
Did anybody, well, and this happened in 2023, and you got a full absolute exoneration. And what did that feel like?
Felt really good. Felt really good.
After
really
all
good.
those years.
Yeah, so like for inspiration or whatever, right? So when I was inside, there were a couple of things I wanted to do. That was one of them. And the way that I used that as like the carrot to get me to the place. So I also wanted to go to law school. And the carrot was, and this is the carrot, this is the reality of my carrots now, is too, like, I understand, like, anything, it's not like it's not like a long lasting feeling that you have forever. But that feeling that I knew that how I would feel when I win, when I get there, when I get exonerated, when I get into law school, when I do the thing that people told me I can't do, that's supposed to be impossible, how I will feel is what has dragged me through to these hardest accomplishments for me.
And that's a really good thing to do. That's a good movie to play. A lot of people, especially if they get into prison, they play the bad movie, and the bad movie continues to play, and they don't play the good movie in their mind. In prison, you have to play the good movie because you can get into a hell of a negative slump because of where you are. You have to play the good movie. You have to keep putting things out in front of you. And like you said, Dieter, this does go into 1,100 prisons on the Adobe platform. And there's a lot of people, you have to make a decision. And it's binary. Either I'm going to get busy living or get busy dying. And that's in a movie. Shawshank is one of my biggest favorite movies, but it's so true. Because if you don't really have an in between. And Divine G and Sing Sing is the name of the movie. Sing Sing. And he actually was able to go to the Oscars because the person who played him in the movie was up for Best Actor. Old mind here, 58 years old, but it did come back to me, Dieter. So, okay, so you get this incredible thing that happens, and you didn't give up on it, which I think is the best when you do something that's so tough and so ugly to swim through, and you get it. I know that you are co-director, co-founder of the National Justice Impact Bar Association and the Justice Impact Alliance that helps people through and assisting people impacted by the criminal justice system. Is that something that you're still doing, Dieter? Is that something you're still part of?
So yeah, the bar, sure, certainly. Recently had some, pretty good success with working with the ABA. We passed this resolution.
Okay.
That will make it easier for others, not just wrongfully convicted. Essentially what it is that every bar has its own question or set of questions concerning someone's criminal justice history. And the contention that the basis of the resolution is that not everything is relevant to someone's character and fitness. Not everything. We need to narrowly tailor this, right? So there's a difference between somebody who jaywalked and was arrested or whatever when they were.
Not everybody should go in the same bucket. Exactly.
And 32 years later, they go into law school. And And so we're saying basically what it would do is it makes it so that it has to be narrowly tailored to only those, only ask about those things that are relevant to one's character, fitness, ability to practice law, including, for instance, somebody being wrongfully convicted. I don't see how that is relevant to their character. I mean, it's relevant. I would say arguably probably means that it should be a bonus. It should be a good thing, I would think.
Yeah. Because they've been through something that they know the other side of the system. I'm curious, Dieter, this a couple of years ago, the 23, and we talked about this, this is something that happened to you, but it doesn't define you. Do you feel different now that you've gotten this proclamation that, I was innocent and now they've recognized it, and do you feel somewhat different, or is it just something that you had the win and you move forward and that was part of your experience that you've gone through with this?
I feel different. It's different. I could talk about it more.
Yeah.
I could talk about it a lot more. I still can't talk about as much, so I have pending cases right now. I have a pending claim in Connecticut, state claim based on a law to get compensation.
Right.
For wrongfully convicted.
Right. I had that question down. You just answered it.
Yeah. But I'm much more free to speak now freely about the fact that I was wrongfully convicted.
Yeah.
And I can talk about the case, and it is a good feeling. It's something, and realistically, the thing is this, that I made this part of my story too, is just making a decision about what am I willing to live with? Okay. So when I got convicted, I remember the day that I got sentenced. It was a bad day, very sad day. I went in, I had originally written something up. I was going to it was just going to be like a truth bomb. I would be like, yeah, and you did this and all that. I was going to call out the prosecutor, police, and all this stuff for the farce of the thing. And instead, I apologized because my lawyer told me to apologize. It was very cheap.
You won't get as much time. They want to see remorse, all that stuff. Yeah.
And then, then the judge sentences me. He says, you threw your life away, blah, blah, blah. My mom's bawling. I'm very sad. Mm-hmm. I go into the cell. I start crying. I'm on my own. I didn't cry. I mentioned side because I just felt like I needed not to. I cry and I realize I'm on my own. I start crying. And then and then I just have this thought. I'm like, okay, so you lost, man. You lost. You lost bad. They got you fully, crushed you. And now here's the thing. You have to make a decision. You got to either accept it. And then you gotta really just you gotta figure out how to live with it and accept it. Or what are you gonna do about it? Are you gonna do something about it? You can do something about it. It's gonna be hard as hell. Mm-hmm. You're gonna have to go through, what are you willing to do to do something about it, to get exonerated, to do it? And I was like, anything. Are you willing to give I was literally willing to give my life. And I had to make that decision. I was, a young kid. And I was like, and I remember it was a very big moment for me. It's literally this talk in my head. And I was just like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And I've realized now that that's the type of person I am, is that once I've made, we all know what we really want. I remember at one point I was like, I was like, oh, curious. Should I was interested in modeling a little bit. I was like, I don't know. I feel like I could do it. One of those stupid thoughts. And then I was finally, I was my last year of law school was I did try and do it, and I did do it. And it was fine. It was good. And I'm happy I did it, because then I don't have to worry about it the rest of my life. Be like, well, could I have done it? So, this is one of those.
Do you think that helped? Do you think that all helped going through this whole nightmare?
Yeah.
That process of your thinking, processing of taking action. And
I knew I couldn't live a lie. And the lie was that it doesn't, I don't think, even if I had done the thing, so I don't judge somebody for doing, because I've worked with, mostly it's formerly incarcerated people, trying to get them. I don't care I care who you are now. I care what you're doing now. But for me, what bothered me is that but my story is my story. My truth is my truth. And until I can say that freely, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I'm not going to be yeah, Well,
Oh,
I
I
was,
get it. I get it. And I think that's why I really loved your story. You could have just given it the loss. You could have just walked away and, UConn accepted you and you just went off and did whatever that was for your life. But you didn't. You stuck with something that mattered to you, and it wasn't easy to get to what that win was. And I think that's what I like so much about your story. Um, there was nothing easy about getting that win.
no.
They made you work for it, and you found some people that believed in you, and you found some good people that believed in you, and you went and got the win. But there's nothing easy about getting the win. And I think, going and talking to students and things that you do, um, that's so important for them to know. There's no shortcuts to getting the win. A lot of times the win's the most painful part of it, and you still have to just walk it.
Yeah. You got to have,
Got to have a little bit of grit, but you learned the other thing I think, Dieter, that it's so weird. Here's two guys talking about going to prison, but you find out in this unknown world that you've never been in, never planned on going to, that you can adapt to it, and it doesn't break you, and so you walk out of that, and it's kind of, you don't really talk about it a lot, but in the back of your mind, I can do that. I can do that. So if I can do that, I might be able to do some of these other things that sound like really hard things, barriers, because I can do that. I didn't think I could do that. That scared the shit out of me. And now I did that. So I think that is something that comes out of prison. But I always ask people on the show, Dieter, what do you think's your biggest takeaway going through all this?
yeah. I guess the main thing to me is, you know, you got to find out what what you want in life and what you don't, what you're not okay with living with, right? That's a big part of my story. I wasn't okay with living with being wrongfully convicted my whole life and not exonerated. And I knew that. So then what does that mean? Then you have to do something. And so then once you know what you want to do, is just be brave. Be brave and be honest with yourself.
Mhm.
Be honest. And I know that I am the type of person, figure out who you are and figure out, well, I'm the type of person that I'm relentless. When I want something, I'm not the strongest guy, I'm not whatever, but I will hold on until I will die before I give up on the thing that I really um
I
and
love
it's
that.
something that, has served me well in getting the things that I really want. Some of the things that I don't want as much are, put to the wayside, but the big things, it's like, and you will win eventually if you keep trying.
Yeah.
One way or another, you will.
Yeah.
And at least you'll like respect yourself.
Mhm. That's a great takeaway. That's a great takeaway. And I kind of thought you'd have a good takeaway there,
Yeah.
Dieter, after all this. Um, for everybody, I want to give a shout out to Homestead Financial, Home Mortgage. Let me use this podcast room, all the fancy stuff. If anybody's got home mortgage needs out there, get a hold of Greg Aftiev. He is the guy that knows everything about that. If you're looking for a book out there, I've got one. It's Nightmare Success, Loyal to Betrayal, Life Behind Bars, Adapting and Finally Breaking Free. Leave me a review on Apple. Those are great. They really help. And I love it when I get to read those from the listeners. If you want to know what I'm doing, go to brentcassity.com. I spell it wrong. I spell it with a TY, not a DY. As I used to say to my people when I was writing my emails back and forth from Leavenworth, stay strong. I'll do the same. Dieter, man, what a story. I'm proud of you. I really think what you did and what you're doing now, it's I think you're just going to continue to make a big impact. So thanks for being here today and sharing your story.
Thanks. A pleasure.
Nightmare Success in and out.